ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి, జేఈఈ అయినా, నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
So here altogether we find 10 G3Ps and 2 G3P molecules. 10 G3Ps are involved in regeneration of RUBP. So here altogether what we have taken 4 molecules of G3P into 4 DHAP. So out of 10, 4 are utilized. Then we take next more 2 G3P molecules and we take 2 molecules of DHAP. So altogether 3 plus 3, 6 carbons. Okay. So here glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate combines with 2 molecules of DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, 3 carbons. 3 plus 3, 6 carbons, that is fructose 6-phosphate. Nothing, don't worry that we have so many chemical reactions to remember and all that. It's very easy to remember. What is the easiest way to remember? We take G3P as 3 carbons, DHAP as 3 carbons here. 3 plus 3, we talk 6 carbons here. So 6 carbons means immediately you try to remember fructose having 6 carbons. Phosphorus is attached to the 6th carbon. Fructose 6-phosphate, 6 carbons. And immediately this fructose 6-phosphate combines with inorganic phosphorus and lead to formation of fructose 1,6-biphosphate with the help of an enzyme. Itself is the name of the compound, fructose 1,6-biphosphatase. So end product is fructose 1,6-biphosphate. Now this combines with 2 more molecules of G3P. So here 3 carbons, fructose 1,6-biphosphate having 6 carbons. Guys, how to remember the products? Add 6 carbons plus 3 carbons. 6 plus 3, it is 9 carbons. It's divided into 4 carbons and 5 carbons. So 4 carbon compound is, try to remember, erythrose 4-phosphate. I repeat, erythrose 4-phosphate and 5 carbon compound is xylulose 5-phosphate. So here with the help of an enzyme, so here aldolase and trans-acetylase or transferase. So this transferase, or you can write a trans-acetylase. So we can write transferase is also in this case is called trans-acetylase. Now let's continue further. Now if you look at here, so here when you talk about erythrose 4-phosphate, xylulose 5-phosphate are the end products. We leave the xylulose phosphate here. Now I am taking erythrose 4-phosphate. Out of the 2 products, I leave the xylulose phosphate here and I'll take erythrose 4-phosphate. Now when we take erythrose 4-phosphate, so 2 more molecules, totally how many molecules of G3P? 4 molecules of G3P plus 2 molecules of GTP and 2 molecules, 4 plus 2, 6, 7, 8, right. So here altogether we find 2 molecules of erythrose 4-phosphate having 4 carbons here. Now this I am taking, what you find, 2 molecules, 2 molecules. 2 molecules of erythrose 4-phosphate combines with rest of 2 more molecules of DHAP. 2 got utilized here and more 2 are pending here, right. So 2 more molecules of 2-DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate having 3 carbons. Now 2 కొంచెం డౌన్ చేయమ్మా, కనిపిస్తుందేమో లేదు. Okay. So here 2 erythrose 4-phosphate plus 2 DHAP, 4 carbons plus 3 carbons. As a result, you can see formation of 2 pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. So what is this compound here? We take 4 carbons, combines with 3 carbons, 4 plus 7 carbons altogether. Now we find pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. So here again we take the enzyme aldolase. 2 pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. Why? Because 4 carbons combined with 3 carbons lead to formation of 7 carbons. Now whenever 7-phosphate is there, immediately it converts into 2-ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphate 1,7-biphosphate with the addition of inorganic phosphorus and with the help of ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphatase. With the help of ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphatase. Name of the compound itself is nothing but name of the enzyme. So here immediately we see it has 7 carbons. Guys, wherever 1 phosphate is there, immediately we are getting converted into 2 phosphates like here. Fructose 6-phosphate is there, immediately it is adding inorganic phosphorus, getting converted into 1,6-biphosphate. Similarly, ceroheptulose 7-phosphate is there, here we are adding inorganic phosphorus, immediately getting converted into ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphate. Now what is the end compound we find? Ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphate. Now, so let us take here, as I told you here, how many are pending here? Out of the 10 molecules of G3P, out of the 10 molecules of G3P, 4 got utilized, 2 got utilized and more 2 are used. 4 plus 2 6, 6 plus 2 8, 8 here and more 2 here. Altogether 10 molecules of G3P. So altogether this is a 10 molecules of G3P. How 8 are utilized there, 2 are pending. The 2 we are taking it here. The 2 molecules of G3P plus 2 molecules of ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphate having 7 carbons. 2 molecules of G3P having 3 carbons plus 2 molecules of ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphate having 7 carbons. Now it lead to formation of the compound. What is that? 7 plus 3. How many carbons? 10 carbons. 10 carbons are divided as 2-ribose 5-phosphate having 5 carbons, pentose sugar. Another one is 2-xylulose 5-phosphate having how many carbons? 5 carbons. So here again with the name of the enzyme called as trans-acetylase. With the name of the enzyme trans-acetylase. So here this is nothing but aldolase, then 1,7-biphosphatase. This is nothing but trans-acetylase. In this again I repeat, 2 molecules of G3P combines with 2 molecules of ceroheptulose 1,7-biphosphate with the help of an enzyme trans-acetylase lead to formation of 2-ribose 5-phosphate and 2-xylulose 5-phosphate. This is a pentose sugar having 5 carbons. This is also a pentose sugar having 5 carbons. 5 plus 5, 10 carbons. So that is balances with 7 plus 3, 10 carbons. Now if you look at carefully in this all chemical reactions, this is nothing but 2 molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate. Here also we find 2 molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate. Altogether there is a formation of 4 molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate. So here xylulose 5-phosphate 2 plus more 2, altogether 4 molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate. So what happens to that 4 molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate? They get converted into another pentose sugar. So let's continue further. So what did I said lastly? 2-xylulose, 2-xylulose. So here we find 4 molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate leads in formation of 2 molecules of ribose 5-phosphate having 5 carbons. So this is nothing but isomerase. So this is also 5 carbons, this is also 5 carbons. Pentose sugars, both are nothing but isomers. So altogether here 4 molecules. Here 4 molecules means here also 4 molecules. Now how many riboses are already produced here? 2 molecules of riboses are already produced. Earlier produced 2 molecules of ribose Now present produce 4 molecules of ribose. Altogether 6 molecules of ribose 5-phosphate get converted into 6 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate. Okay, so this is also an isomer reaction where ribose is also a pentose sugar having 5 carbon, even this is also pentose sugar having 5 carbons. Now this ribulose molecules, which are 6 in number, in the last step of conversion combines with 6 molecules of ATP. As a result of this, now this yields the formation of 6 molecules of RUBP, or itself we call ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. Right. So we will get back our molecule as it is into the system. That is why the step is called as what? Regeneration. Now if you look at here, the name of the enzyme is ribose 5-phosphoephemerase, and here is ribulose 5-phosphoisomerase, and here also we refer this ribulose 5-phosphokinase. So here all are nothing but pentose sugars, but one we take ephemerase, other one we take isomerase, other one we take kinase, but actually all three will come under isomerases. So isomerases which class? We have a 5th class, isomerase, under name class 5 isomerases. What not, we have several subclasses of enzymes like ephemerases, isomerases, and even kinases. So what do we get back? RUBP, ribulose, a 5-carbon compound, again regenerated back into the C3 pathway. So this is nothing but the step called regeneration. So again I repeat, Calvin cycle has all the 3 steps. One is called carboxylation, second one is called reduction, and third one is called as what? Regeneration. So by the end of regeneration we get back our RUBP back. Now this is ready to go on combine with one other, again 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. Again the C3 pathway begins. It is a continuous process which occurs in the plants. The plants are called C3 plants. Stop. Now let us continue with C4 pathway. Here C4 pathway is the one which occurs in C4 plants. Guys, make sure that you practice both cycles. Cycles are very important. The earlier one C3 pathway, it is very important, and C4 pathway is also very important. Now if you take the C4 pathway, so here C4 pathway occurs in C4 plants, and C4 plants are characteristic of having what we call Cranzi anatomy. C4 plants characteristic of having what is called Cranzi anatomy. Of course, here in C4 plants we need to study more points like C4 plants are highly efficient, they show high rate of productivity, and they show twice the amount of carbon dioxide fixation when compared with C3 plants, but loses only half amount of water. Guys, these points we will cover it later. But here we are going to talk only about pathway, right? And C4 plants, first of all you may get doubt that what are the C3 plants and what are the C4 plants. Carbon dioxide fixation process or the mechanism in photosynthesis, it varies. It varies in certain aspects. So in some plants what occurs is called C3 pathway, that is a mechanism of carbon dioxide fixation. In some plants the total mechanism is totally different with few differences there, and that mechanism is called C4 pathway. Once you study C3 pathway, C4 pathway, then we go for differences. How to differentiate C3 plants from C4 plants, right? Here itself we study one of the major important differences, nothing but Cranzi anatomy. Remember Cranzi anatomy, it's a very important difference, find only in case of C4 plants, absent in case of C3 plant. That is a major difference to identify C4 plant differentiating from C3. So here if you look at Cranzi anatomy, so this is nothing but, let us talk about leaf anatomy we are taking here. Now when you take the leaf anatomy, now in lower classes you know that when you take the anatomy of the leaf, Even in first year anatomy you studied leaf anatomy. We have an upper epidermis and we have a lower epidermis. Now in the center we find the vascular bundles are there. So we have xylem and along with the phloem is there here. So this is xylem. Now the xylem and phloem is surrounded by bundle sheath cells. Guys, in anatomy already have studied the TS of leaf anatomy, right? So here this is nothing but vascular bundle. Vascular bundle is surrounded by bundle sheath cells. And I am drawing the lower epidermis. So you know very well adaxial epidermis and abaxial epidermis. Of course we find stomata and other conditions are same. Now you know that there is a distribution of mesophyll cell like this. Palisade and spongy tissue we find. Spongy is nothing but parenchyma with more intercellular spaces. So here stomata is there. Below that we find substomatal cavity and rest is nothing but parenchyma. Now in this case you know very well mesophyll cells are characteristic of containing chloroplast. So guys, in cytology also you studied maximum number of chloroplast exist in mesophyll of leaf anatomy. That means each cell contains nearly 20 to 40 number of chloroplast per cell. So where you find highest number of chloroplast? Highest number or high number of chloroplast we find in case of mesophyll cell. Where in mesophyll cell? In the palisade we find maximum number of chloroplast. Now down to this we find what is called parenchyma. Parenchyma is nothing but parenchyma with more intercellular spaces here. Now this is what general mechanism what we know about leaf anatomy. Now let's come back to what exactly meant by Cranzi anatomy. Cranzi means here a width of arrangement of vascular bundles. So if you look at the arrangement of vascular bundles, each vascular bundle is surrounded by importantly bundle sheath. So we call bundle sheath cells. Right. So if you look at the bundle sheath cells here, in this bundle sheath cells also we find chloroplast. But here the chloroplast is different from the mesophyll, and this chloroplast is called as agranule chloroplast. So I will write where I kept so many star marks. Very important question in photosynthesis. Maximum there are some places where we expect few questions in the final lead. So I kept so many star marks. That means the path what we are going to study about bundle sheath cells is important. So what you find here in this case, you find a granule chloroplast. What you find here? A granule chloroplast. Sorry, here what you find here? Agranule chloroplast. Now coming to mesophyll cells, mesophyll cell contain palisade tissue, and here what we find is nothing but a granule chloroplast. Now what is the difference between granule chloroplast and agranule chloroplast? Guys, so far what we have studied, it will come under granule chloroplast. Why it will come under granule chloroplast? So you studied in cytology, the chloroplast is the one which contain two membranes, and here what piles of coins of arrangement of thylakoids are arranged, and this is totally it's called as what? Granum. So when chloroplast is with granum, it's called as granule chloroplast. Across the cell, wherever you find chloroplast mostly with granum. So if you find chloroplast within the cell, where do you find plastids? Plastids, you know, aleuroplast, leucoplast and all that we have studied. So there mostly wherever you find the part of the cell, mostly you find is granule chloroplast. But exceptionally in bundle sheath cells, what you find, it's called agranule chloroplast. This is important. What is agranule chloroplast here? Chloroplast without granum. Chloroplast without granum means no granum. No granum means you think no thylakoids? No, thylakoids are present. But how they are present? Now if you look at in this case, the thylakoids are distributed here and there. There is no files of coins of arrangement one above the other. When all thylakoids join together and form the group, then only it's called granum. Granum is grouping of thylakoids. Here thylakoids are not grouped. Thylakoids are distributed, dispersed equally to all directions. So there is no granum. No granum does not mean that no thylakoid. Thylakoid is present. Why? Thylakoid is a place where light reaction and dark light reaction is the one which synthesizes energy, and that leads to proceed with dark reaction. So what is the main difference here? In mesophyll cell we find granule chloroplast. In bundle sheath cells what you find is nothing but a granule chloroplast. So here even if you look at here, you find more number of chloroplast when compared with the mesophyll. So here we are making out a clear difference between a mesophyll cell with bundle sheath cells. Mesophyll cell contain maximum number, no doubt 20 to 40, but compared with this, here you find more number of chloroplast, and here the dense cell walls are present and abundant reserve food material. These are with abundant reserve food material, meaning what? They store more quantity of food material when compared with the mesophyll cell. That is how bundle sheath cells are different from mesophyll cells. Right. Now, very important difference what it occurs. If you look at C4 pathway begins with mesophyll cell, enters into, we don't have another marker, guys listen carefully, mesophyll cell. C4 pathway begins with where? Mesophyll cell, enters into bundle sheath, again where to where here? Now I am telling you the location. C4 pathway begins in the cytosol, enters into chloroplast of mesophyll cell, from there enters into chloroplast of bundle sheath cells, and again goes back to chloroplast of mesophyll cell. Guys, what I have circled here, if you don't understand also no problem. Once again we are going to write very clearly all the 4 steps of the C4 pathway. At that time you will come to know. So what the round which I made here, can you able to see the small round here? The small round what we made here, this is the location of occurrence of C4 pathway. C4 pathway occurs between mesophyll cell and bundle sheath cell. Very importantly, Rubisco. So mesophyll cell, importantly here it contains very important enzyme called PEPKase. Mesophyll cell characteristic of containing a very important enzyme. What is that called? PEPKase. Then what about bundle sheath cells? Bundle sheath cells contain very important enzyme called Rubisco. So what is the difference here? Mesophyll cell contain enzyme called PEPKase. What is PEP? We'll study now. Enzyme called PEPKase, but lack of Rubisco. Similarly, bundle sheath cells contain Rubisco, but lack of PEPKase. Very important differences between mesophyll cell and bundle sheath cells. But importantly, guys, remember here also carboxylation occurs. Here also carboxylation occurs, means fixing of carbon dioxide takes place in mesophyll cell, and also fixing of carboxylation occurs in Rubisco. But there are 2 different enzymes, but there are 2 different compounds. In C4 pathway, double carboxylation means carboxylation occurs twice. One carboxylation occurs in mesophyll cell, another carboxylation occurs in Rubisco. Now straight away let us go with the C4 pathway. Now C4 pathway, as you know, it occurs in 2 important cell organelles. What are the 2 important cell organelles? Just now we have written, one is called mesophyll, other one is called bundle sheath cells. So diorganellic, we call diorganellic metabolism. Diorganellic metabolism means not the CAM pathway, not the C4 pathway. It purely speaks about what is called as C4 pathway. And similarly, we find what is called as a dimorphic chloroplast. Again, this terminology also refers to not with C3, not with CAM. It refers to only C4 pathway, where 2 types of chloroplast is present only in C4 pathway. One is granule chloroplast in mesophyll, agranule chloroplast in bundle sheath. Right. So now let us begin with the C4 pathway. We'll start with the C4 pathway now. So in the first step is carboxylation. Carboxylation, what happens is a mechanism of carbon dioxide fixation here. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide reacts with 6 molecules of PEP. It's also having 3 carbon compound. What is PEP? Phosphoenol pyruvate. So 6 carbons get reduced or get fixed with a primary carbon dioxide acceptor called PEP, phosphoenol pyruvate. So here, as a result of this, it lead to formation of what is called as 6 molecules of oxaloacetic acid. Oxaloacetic acid. So we call this as OAA. This is having a 4 carbon compound. So here carbon dioxide having 1 carbon and 3 carbons of PEP lead to formation of a 4 carbon compound. This is the first stable product produced in the entire metabolism. That's why it's called as what? C4 pathway. So what did I say here? This reaction name I'm writing again here. The first step it's called as carboxylation. For every step we are writing the name of the reaction and we are going to write about the enzyme which participate. So for this reaction to catalyze, we find the enzyme called as PEPcase, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. Itself is called as what? PEPcase. And even we are going to study about the location where the reaction is going to happen. This particular reaction occurs in the cytosol of mesophil. In the cytoplasm of mesophil, the reaction begins where carbon dioxide joins with PEP lead to formation of oxaloacetic acid. Now this oxaloacetic acid further get reduced to form 6 molecules of malic acid. So even this is a 4 carbon component. In some cases where the malic acid, in place of malic acid, there is a formation of aspartic acid. So here lot of studies there. You know Hatch-Slack pathway, even Professor V.S. Ramadas is a person who studied that, okay, in some plants the first stable compound is no doubt it's an oxaloacetic acid and that get reduced to form malic acid in some plants, and in some plants instead of malic acid there is a transformation into aspartic acid. In sugarcane the discovery has taken place that in all plants the first stable product is not the PGA, means all plants are not C3 plants. In some plants where the first stable compound is a 4 carbon compound, that's why they differ the mechanism as C4 pathway and they started calling all those plants as C4 plants. So what happens here? This is getting reduced here. So additionally with 6 molecules of NADPH2. So what you call this? This is nothing but with the help of an enzyme reductase. So here with the reductase 6 molecules of NADPH2 get converted into 6 molecules of malic acid plus 6 NAD plus. Where this happens? First thing is this is called carboxylation, that is name of the reaction. So the name of the reaction here it's nothing but reduction, right. So here what is the name of the enzyme here we talk about? That is nothing but oxaloacetic acid reductase, or this is also called as malic dehydrogenase. This itself is called enzyme malic dehydrogenase, and the region or the location where it happens is nothing but chloroplast of mesophil cell. Chloroplast of mesophil cell. From where to where it is entering? From the cytoplasm of the mesophyll cell, enters into, what enters? Oxaloacetic acid enters into chloroplast of mesophyll cell. What is produced here? Malic acid. That's why it's called malic dehydrogenase, or simply it belong to this particular enzyme belong to the class 1. What is class 1? Oxidoreductases. We discussed oxidoreductases. You can simply call this as reductase enzyme. Now, what produced here? Malic acid. Both are 4 carbon compounds. Now, that further get reduced to form 6 molecules of pyruvic acid. What is that PA? PA refers to pyruvic acid. So here, this is the one. Here you remember the enzyme is nothing but a malic enzyme we talk about. Now, where it occurs means it enters into bundle sheath cells. So the name of the location is very important. Where it occurs? In bundle sheath cells. It occurs in case of bundle sheath cells. Where it occurs in bundle sheath cell? It occurs in agranule chloroplast of bundle sheath cells. Very important location. Agranule chloroplast of bundle sheath cells. Very important. So here in this case, if you look at, there is a release of 6 molecules of carbon dioxide into bundle sheath cells. That is why we say second time carboxylation occurs in the bundle sheath cells. What the carbon dioxide released here? Bundle sheath cells contain RuBP. So it combines with 6 molecules of RuBP, and that continues the pathway as Calvin cycle, or we call this pathway as C3 pathway. As a result, what you find? Hexose sugar gets synthesized here, and along with the regeneration of RuBP back into the system. So here, what's very important here? The 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, what are being released? From where they get released here? The 4 carbon malic acid get converted into a 3 carbon pyruvic acid. So for every 1 molecule, there is release of 1 carbon. So how many molecules are there? 6 molecules are there. 6 carbon dioxide molecules are released here. They combine with 6 RuBP and lead to formation of hexose sugar. That's by undergoing Calvin cycle. So as a result of this, you find 6 molecules of pyruvic acid. So does all the things are covered or not? Look at this. Name of the reaction here is carboxylation. Here is nothing but what? Reduction. So what you call here? Here this is called as oxidoreduction. The name of the reaction we refer it as what? Oxidoreduction. And what is the enzyme here? Malic dehydrogenase. What is the enzyme here? Malic enzyme. And the place where it occurs is nothing but agranule chloroplast of bundle sheath cells. Now, then this pyruvic acid further comes back and forms what is called PEP. That's by utilizing a 12 molecules of ATP into a 12 molecules of ADP. So, with the help of an enzyme called pyruvate kinase. With the help of an enzyme called pyruvate kinase. So, where does it happen? It happens in the same chloroplast of mesophyll cell. Chloroplast of mesophyll cell. So, what do you call this? This is nothing but, as this produced here, this is referred as phosphorylation. What get produced here is ATP. So, this is nothing but what we call phosphorylation. So, altogether there are 4 steps which are included. As we have discussed, it occurs in 2 cell organelles. What the 2 cell organelles? Up to here. So, we write this is nothing but what? Mesophyll cell. Then it enters for second carboxylation reaction, it enters into agranule chloroplast of mesophyll cell. So, this is nothing but what? Bundle sheath cell. Okay. So, out of this, the ratio of number of reactions which occurs from mesophyll to bundle sheath, 3:1. Why 3:1? Because altogether major reactions 3. Of course, last terminal one included. All 3 will occur in where? Mesophyll cell, and only one reaction occurs in bundle sheath cell. So these three reactions occurs in mesophyll in continuation with the bundle sheath cell. So here this is nothing but carboxylation. This is the first carboxylation, and here what occurs here is nothing but what? Second carboxylation. So altogether, how many carboxylations will occur in C4 pathway? Altogether, there are 2 carboxylations reactions will occur along with 1 decarboxylation. Right. So where is this decarboxylation? It occurs here. Removal of carbon dioxide is called decarboxylations, and carboxylation fixation itself again it's called carboxylation. So altogether the ratio of carboxylations to decarboxylation is nothing but what? 2:1. So this is nothing but C4 pathway. It occurs in C4 plants, and such type of C4 plants are advanced plants which evolve more faster way when compared with the C3 plant, and even they produce more amount of the yield. So we talk in terms of high productivity. Now when you take about energy calculations, energy consumption and energy calculations, we see very clearly between C3 pathway and C4 pathway. So in photosynthesis we have studied 2 pathways, C3 pathway and C4 pathway. Now let's, in case of respiration, let us have a pathway called as glycolysis. Now you guys take one white paper and practice all the cycles. Cycles are very important. In photosynthesis, the 2 important cycles, very important. So take one white paper, practice step by step all chemical reactions, what is a substrate, what is a product, and what is the name of the enzyme. Cycles are very important. So we have covered 2, C3 and C4. Now in respiration, we are going to cover another cycle called glycolysis. So you know that in general respiration, we have 2 processes. One is called as aerobic respiration, and other one is called anaerobic respiration. So if you take the aerobic respiration, you know it occurs in the presence of oxygen, and here it occurs in absence of oxygen. Okay, so here what's happening? The glucose is getting broken down and produces 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. So this is 6 carbon compound and this is a third 3 carbon compound. So generally you know well the basic differences. In lower classes you already have studied. Later we are going to discuss in detail about the complete chapter. Now time being sake, you people, if you can practice all the cycles, they help you a lot in understanding the upcoming chapters. So here you know very well the basic difference. In lower classes you studied aerobic respiration occurs in the presence of oxygen and anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. So here for both, in case of aerobic respiration as well as in anaerobic respiration, in both cases the common metabolism is the common pathway which occurs in both aerobic and anaerobic is glycolysis. I repeat again, the common pathway which occurs in case of aerobic respiration also the first step is glycolysis, anaerobic respiration also the first step is glycolysis. That is, whenever you get the question, very important question, what is that? The common pathway between aerobic and anaerobic is nothing but glycolysis. Let's begin with glycolysis. Now if you look at glycolysis is also called as EMP pathway. Why it is referred as EMP pathway? The three scientists, who are the three scientists? Ernest and Meyerhoff, HOFF and Paramus. Ernest M. Beden, all three scientists, I repeat, Ernest M. Beden, Meyerhoff, Paramus, all the three scientists, they studied what is called as EMP pathway, that is itself is called glycolysis, right. So let's begin about the glycolysis. We say we have to start with what is called glucose. We have to start with the pathway called as glucose. Glucose gets converted into a glucose 6-phosphate. I am writing the substrates, carefully you concentrate, and this glucose 6-phosphate converts into fructose 6-phosphate. Further, immediately by undergoing metabolic changes, fructose 6-phosphate get converted into fructose 1,6-biphosphate. So here if you take, glucose is having 6 carbons here. Now with the help of an enzyme called hexokinase, now in this case ATP, here you make use of ATP and there is a release of ADP. Remember, there is one molecule of ATP, it's consumed in the conversion of glucose into glucose 6-phosphate with the help of an enzyme called hexokinase. Next is glucose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate. If you see, both are nothing but isomers, so you can use the enzyme phosphofructokinase. Right, and then fructose is getting converted into fructose 1,6-5-phosphate. Again there is use of 1 ATP, it's getting converted into ADP. This is getting converted into phosphofructoisomerase. So here we clearly write which enzyme is involved in conversion of what to what. Which are the enzymes involved in conversion of what to what? Which are the places where ATP is utilized? So I am writing in the very first step, ATP is being consumed, leaving one step. Again we are writing one more step where ATP is being consumed. So here finally what produced is called fructose 1,6-biphosphate. Now this fructose 1,6-biphosphate, it's further divided into the two compounds. So guys, I'll just continue this part here. So if you take fructose 1,6-biphosphate having 6 carbons, now it's divided into two compounds. What are the two compounds here? We know that we find DHAP and here G3P. So just in the previous video we studied what is DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate. What is G3P? Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and these are interconvertible, means it is a reversible reaction, and this happens with the help of an enzyme called triose phosphate isomerase. With the help of an enzyme called as triose phosphate isomerase. If at all, if you look at carefully, it's the same step what we studied even in case of C3 pathway. So what is that here we find? DHAP. What is DHAP? Dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Converted into what? G3P. So here you can see the G3P molecule is it may be converted into DHAP or DHAP may be converted into G3P. Reversible process. Very importantly, you have to remember the name of the enzyme, that is triose phosphate isomerase. Now the two molecules of G3P, now it's get converted into two molecules of 1,3-biphosphoglyseric acid. G3P gets converted into two molecules of 1,3-biphosphoglyseric acid. Now with the production of what is called as two molecules of ADP get converted into two molecules of ATP. Okay. Now this, the 1,3-biphosphoglyseric acid get converted into 3-phosphoglyceric acid with the conversion of 2 molecules of NAD plus into NADPH2. So here this have been consumed. Here one ATP molecule is consumed. Here also one ATP molecule is consumed. But here there is a production of 2 ATP molecules and also production of 2 NADPH2 molecules. So 1,3-biphospho gets converted into 3-phosphoglyceric acid. Now 3-phosphoglyceric acid, its change of intramolecular shift, it changes its phosphorus position from 3rd carbon to 2nd carbon. So here there is a production of 2-phosphoglyceric acid, and then that gets converted into 2 molecules of phosphoenol pyruvate. Guys, if you can practice once this full form, you will get to know. We frequently use this PGA. What is PGA? Phosphoglyceric acid. We studied in the C3 pathway, right? What is PGA? Phosphoglyceric acid. What is G3P? Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. What is DHAP? Dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Now this PEP finally get produced and form what is called as pyruvic acid. What is PA here? Pyruvic acid. And what is PEP here? Phosphoenol pyruvate. This is phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, so here when you talk about phosphoenol pyruvate is getting converted into what? Pyruvic acid. Now if you look at here, this is the one with the name of the enzyme we are writing. This step of conversion happens with the help of enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phospho dehydrogenase. Right, and this happens with the help of this is nothing but phosphoglyceromutase. Okay, so name of the compound is itself is name of the enzyme G3P dehydrogenase. Name of the compound is name of the enzyme. Additionally, you have to write dehydrogenase. Conversion of 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid into 3-phosphoglyceric acid is phosphoglyceromutase, and this phosphoglyceric PGA converts into 2-PGA by phosphoglycerokinase. Phosphoglycerokinase. 3-PGA getting converted into what? 2-PGA. Now this 2-PGA get converted into what is called PEP with the help of an enzyme called enolase. So when you talk about enolase here, now in this case water is added, and in the next step conversion from PEP to pyruvic acid, water is going out. In conversion of 2-phosphoglyceric acid to 2-phosphoenol pyruvic acid, water is added here. In the next step, final step, when PEP is converted into pyruvic acid, water is going out. And the most importantly here, if you look at enolase is the name of the enzyme. In this, even there is a conversion of 2 molecules of ADP into 2 molecules of ATP. So here 2 ATP molecules are produced, energy. Here 2 NADPH2 molecules are produced, and here again 2 molecules of ATP is produced. So these are the places where energy is produced. This is G3P213-biphosphoglyseric acid 2 ATP, and biphosphoglyceric acid to 3-phosphoglyceric acid 2 NADPH2, and again to PGA to PEP again 2 molecules of ATP. So these are the places where energy is produced. The place where energy is produced is called SLP, and that too for ATP. Substrate level phosphorylation. This is called substrate level phosphorylation. So here we have SLP1 and here this is SLP2. Using the substrate we are producing ATP. This is called substrate level phosphorylation. Using substrate we are producing phosphate, that is energy, that is ATP. So we call substrate level phosphorylation 1. And where is another place production of ATP? Here. this is called substrate level phosphorylation 2. From this substrate we are producing more molecules of ATP. And which are the two places where ATP is consumed? These are the two places. In this case ATP is not produced, ATP is consumed. Here also ATP is consumed, but these are the two places where ATP is produced once we take substrate level phosphorylation 1 and substrate level phosphorylation 2. So who is the enzyme here? This is the enolase. And finally here, who is the enzyme here? I will write here pyruvate kinase. What is the name of the enzyme? Pyruvate kinase. Two molecules of phosphoenol pyruvic acid converts into pyruvic acid with the help of an enzyme pyruvate kinase with the release of water molecule. So what is that? It's a total mechanism called glycolysis, where one molecule of glucose is getting converted into two molecules of pyruvic acid. So this is nothing but what we call glycolysis. Glycolysis is being discovered by three scientists, Ernest Emden, Meyerhof and Varanus. All three scientists together, they have succeeded in getting the result of pyruvic acid. So it's also called as EMP pathway. Itself is glycolysis.